Oda has just revealed Shanks' mother and God Valley's biggest secret that has just changed everything in One Piece. Because the ancient weapon Uranus is God Valley itself. Then the Roger Pirates captain and vice captain almost ended each other over the Haas. However, another friendship was in peril. Harald and Rocks battled in what is probably one of the strongest fights in One Piece. But before diving into all these reveals, we need to look at the cover story this week because it shows Yamato visiting a grave in Ringo, the snowy area of Wano. They pay respects to a mysterious hero that perished without leaving a corpse after fighting Kaido in hopes of freeing Wano from his oppression. However, this grave belongs to none other than Gecko Moria, now renamed as Kozuki Moria. Bro, you're telling me that when Oden was doing his negative aura goofy ass dance, getting tricked by Orochi, Moria was out here risking his life against Kaido to free Wano, his country? This is huge respects for Moria, man. Like, this reveal has completely flipped my perception of Moria's character at this point. Because turns out, Moria was once born in the West Blue, likely was raised as a Kozuki. While Oden inherited the will of Wano's Dawn, Kozuki Moria fought from the shadows to free Wano. After his defeat, where his entire crew was killed by Kaido, he left his home country and became a warlord, vowing to seek revenge. The most important impact of this reveal, though, is that Buggy is one step closer to becoming Pirate King, because after escaping Blackbeard's clutches with the help of Perona and Kobe, the only faction Moria can go to is Cross Guild. One of the biggest theories right now in the community is that Buggy's crew will include all the previous warlords who were all betrayed by the Marines. They had a contract or understanding that as long as they did what the government wanted, they were allowed to be legal pirates. But as soon as the government got the pacifistas and now the seraphims, they're like,
I've never met this man in my life.
We don't know who you guys are. You guys are just run-of-the-mill pirates, bro. They even helped the government fight a Yonko in Marineford, but the Marines were so quick in ending this deal, now turning them into criminals overnight. Cross Guild is positioned as direct opposition to the Marines. In fact, they even have the Marine bounty system. So it's only natural for Gecko Moria, Weevil, or even later on when Doflamingo inevitably escapes from Impel Down, all of them ending up joining Buggy's Yonko crew for the final war. Moria joining also serves to make Buggy's claim to the One Piece even stronger, because you not only need poneglyphs to find Laugh Tale, but someone that can read them. With Moria being named Kozuki, the family who created the poneglyphs themselves 800 years ago, it's a no-brainer that he can read the ancient writings for Buggy, similar to Oden. Now let's move on 40 years ago aboard the Oro Jackson. Roger, Rayleigh, and Gaban are in a discussion over the baddest baddie in the sea, Shakky. They have learned about Shakky leaving the Kuja pirates to start a bar in Rox's Full-Elite Island. This news makes everyone very, very happy, because when the news of her stopping to become a pirate drop, all the Gooners thought they wouldn't be able to meet her on the sea again. But this is actually good news since she opened up a bar for Gooners. However, something has gone down which is about to test the Roger pirates. This is Usopp versus Luffy levels of test for this legendary crew. Rayleigh reveals to Roger that during their last fight with the Kuja pirates, something happened. During their last fight with the Kuja pirates, something didn't seem right with Shakky. Maybe that's what happened. She fell sick and she stepped down as the empress and leader of the Kuja pirates. The real reason though was that she gave Rayleigh a love letter, basically proving that just like every other empress from Amazon Lily, Shakky was lovesick for Rayleigh. She said on the letter to Rayleigh, she said, "Come and crack me. I mean, make me yours, Rayleigh." That's what she said. However, Rayleigh is a real one, okay? He knows that his captain, his best friend basically, Roger, fancies Shakky. So he wanted to discuss this before doing anything further out of respect for his captain. Instead, the future Pirate King screams at the Dark King. Bro is like, "And you're not interested, bro? Are you gay?" Rayleigh says that he just doesn't doesn't want to be tied down right now and doesn't reciprocate the feelings Shakky has for him. Hearing that his huz gave his bruz a love letter, Roger starts feeling a little bit down. Of course, he's okay if Shakky chooses, really, but it's still kind of sad. Like, Roger didn't get the huz, you know, you still feel sad for yourself, which is a normal, natural thing. But all of a sudden, bro starts screaming out, saying that he isn't giving up. Bro thinks he's Asta. Giving up on the huz isn't what a pirate does. They live to plunder, and they don't stop until the huz is theirs. Listen to that chat. Do not give up. She definitely wants you. Something interesting I noticed, okay, here is like, do you guys think the final conversation Roger and Rayleigh had after finding the One Piece in the Odin flashback? Like, remember how Rayleigh started crying? What if Roger told him, you may go and make Shakky yours now. You may crack the huz. I give you permission. Cause like, I'm gonna be real. All these top tiers, like Rocks, Newgate, everyone, they're all D1 gooners. Like straight up shameless simps, okay? And I think Roger finally gave permission to Rayleigh to go get with Shakky at the end. And that's why he started crying. You can't tell me otherwise. Either way, Roger wants to go meet Shakky and see if he can make her his again. Moving to follow lead, the area around Shakky's ripoff bar seems like a fun time. Pirates of all sorts lined up to witness an idol. Stuff is so expensive that if you are a brokey, you are cooked. Because if you can't pay, it costs you 2 years of unpaid labor to pay it back. With such prices, you would expect the food to be at least decent, right? Well, when this pirate, who came all the way from the North Blue, orders the great whiskey, Shakky serves him a cheap rum instead, making these goofballs believe that it's actually top quality whiskey. These gooners are getting off on the chilling attitude of Shakky though, like straight up on their knees begging for her to talk down to them, and then enter the Rocks pirates. We learn that Rocks isn't in love with Shakky anymore. By the looks of it, Rocks fell in love with a different woman, and she's pregnant with Blackbeard since bro is 40 years old. Rocks is grinning like he's expecting a kid too. Before we can learn more though, Gold D Roger bursts into the scene screaming how much he loves Shakky. Bro is literally role-playing Fibanji here. Shakky though, she looks so uninterested, like she's just like, ah shit, here we go again, not this dumbass showing up. It's like when I start talking about Dragon, you guys, that's what Shakky feels like right now. Rocks instantly gets pissed though. They butt heads, screaming that this is Rocks' territory and Roger can't just waltz in like he owns the place. However, fighting at Shakky's bar is forbidden. Roger is even calling Rocks a porcupine at this point, okay? Like, Rocks must have insane restraint to not knock the lights out of Roger here. This showcases that like both of these men were rivals, but near equals through their status. Reminds me of Kid and Luffy almost. Not friends, but having respect for one another. Earlier we saw a big line to enter the bar. Well, turns out Roger with his Pirate King God Haki made everyone outside faint, clearing the way for his crew. Like bro says, there was a line I didn't even notice, bro. I was just walking and all these people fainted, which reminds me of like, you know, back in Whitebeard's ship when Shanks showed up and by just using his Haki, he made like all these New World pirates start fainting all around Whitebeard's ship. This is the same energy that it gives. Maybe in the anime, this scene is expanded where we see Roger walk into the bar with his Haki like making everyone faint. Whitebeard meanwhile is like, what a drag. He is not interested in this party at all. But then the people say to put the bill on Whitebeard's tab, who in turn leaves it to Rocks. So Xebec ended up paying for all the drinks on that day. This is in line with Whitebeard's character, as we know from Marco when we first found out about Sphinx Island that Newgate was a cheapskate, as he was diverting all of his money to keep his home island safe and prosperous. While everyone starts drinking, Shakky has only one thing on her mind, Rayleigh. But the Dark King wasn't feeling well, so he's napping on the ship. This is likely because he didn't want to interfere in his captain's Riz attempts at Shakky. Instead, bro is aura farming, drinking his performative matcha, acting all nonchalant back at the ship, which makes the Huz want him even more. I don't know how Roger doesn't see why Shakky doesn't want him, because the next panel is literally like Gloriosa jumps on him acting all lovey-dovey, and Roger tells her that he is not into that kind of woman who throw themselves at him. Maybe apply that to your own Shakky as well, bruh. Insane, insane. Like, this dude is doing the same thing to Shakky that Gloriosa is doing to him. I learned. At this point, Gloriosa herself is fed up, okay? Saying that if Shakky asked the same way, it would be different, but instantly Shakky's like, nah, bro, I'll pass. Ew. Roger? Hell nah. This day seems to be the stuff of legends. All these top tiers, future yonkos like Big Mom, Whitebeard, Roger, Shakky, Rocks, everyone under one roof drinking and having fun. Only thing common between them is that they are pirates. Shakky's rules about anyone who wants to visit Figarland be granted safe passage, ensuring this peace between the strongest. However, back at sea, all bets are off. It's on site. And this paneling of Rocks and Xebec to me confirms that we are getting the entire God Valley flashback next week, and it's about to be a 1v1. Speaking of 1v1 though, Elbaf is getting rocked right now. Conqueror's Hockey shaking everything, because when Rocks came to Elbaf once again to try and recruit Harald, this time he was met with instant violence. The king of the giants striking his friend with his full might. Harald took the government's deal that if he can kill Rocks, the giants would be allowed in the government. He took the deal of the devil. In the end, according to Rocks, Harald is doing exactly what the Gorosei want for him. A tool and weapon for the Celestials. They don't see him as a person or individual with their own culture and feelings. Rather, the giants are barbarians that supported Joy Boy. Harald almost speaks like he has been brainwashed, talking about how Elbaf's history of violence is irredeemable. The world will never view Elbaf as peaceful due to it. Even though Harald has a good heart, some nations that were ravaged by giants can never forget the trauma from it. No matter how foolish the celestial dragons may be, they still have influence in the world to bring Elbaf into the loop. Harald is basically saying that just like how the history of the world and Joy Boy was erased and manipulated to put celestials at the top, Imu can do the same for the giants, where humans will accept them as peaceful creatures. He has taken the deal to realize this. Hearing this infuriates Rocks. This is literally what he is fighting against, taking down Imu's control of history and information, which has shackled the world for 800 years. Yet Rocks' friend, the one closest to him in strength and ideals, has chosen to give up and assimilate into the system. Upon hearing this, Rocks is done. Like, the strike he attacks Harald with, like, this would have destroyed almost like 99% of characters in One Piece. After 16 years of trying to have his friend join the cause, Rocks won't be coming back to Elbaf, as Rocks versus Harald is considered a draw in battle, with the king of Elbaf proclaiming that he must first think about his nation and people, so he won't be joining a losing battle that could destroy all the giants. They wouldn't meet until a certain day in the future, which brings me to God Valley. 40 years ago, in the Holy Land, a pivotal meeting unfolds. Saint Figarland Garling, at this point a celestial holy knight, reports to the 5 elders about his recent mission. Garling has been to the remote island of God Valley, trying to convince its inhabitants to join the world government. By the looks of it, the government has been trying to recruit them for a while due to the resources they can extract. His report isn't good. The islanders refuse to submit to the world government, even to a celestial envoy like him. However, Garling found something far more intriguing in God Valley than just simple riches. In particular, Garling mentions one remarkable discovery that he believes would greatly interest Imu-sama, which piques even the Gorosei's interest. So Garling proposes an idea. Why don't they hold the next celestial culling games on God Valley? Basically using violence and coercion to make this island theirs. Of course, at first, they would try the diplomatic approach, since if the inhabitants are still alive, it is much easier to extract even more resources from them, like maybe use them for free labor. There are many many unaffiliated islands still present around the world. But it seems like the violent hunting games approach only is taken by the government for lands which are critical to their agenda. And with the God Valley incident occurring in 2 years, it's obvious that Garling finding was indeed valuable enough for Imu to seize the island. The most likely contender for what this discovery is relates to the ancient weapon Uranus. Other than Luffy's fruit, poneglyphs, Imu only seems to be interested in the ancient weapons, the things that could threaten his rule. If it was Luffy's fruit or just a poneglyph, Garling and the God's Knights could just take it by force due to their immense strength. Yet, they needed to take the entire island, so it's likely a resource or final piece of the puzzle which unlocks Uranus for Imu, maybe a fuel for Mother Flame. However, on our chapter reaction livestream, we theorized that perhaps the island itself is part of the Uranus weapon, because at the end of God Valley, it vanishes without a trace. Back then, Imu didn't have a Uranus. Even if he had a final shot, it would create a massive hole in the ocean like in Lulusia, which makes the sea level rise, causing mass chaos all around the world. We would have heard of this cataclysmic event because islands would be erased, like everything would start flooding. So this is very unlikely. What if instead the island flew in the air upside down as it was the main body of Uranus? However, to fire it, you needed Vegapunk's Mother Flame or the fuel. For example, there are blueprints for Pluton, right? We have found out recently that Pluton, the ship itself, is buried under Wano. So similarly, look at how God Valley looks. Does it not look like a big ass laser cannon? Like, come on, man. Like, flip it upside down. It looks low-key like the energy sword from Halo or like a ray gun, okay? You shoot a beam from that little gap, which shoots down like 16 holy bullets from Uranus. You see what I'm cooking here, chat? So what if God Valley was like a piece of the final Uranus weapon? Even the name of the island being God Valley holds significance since it was called that before government intervention. Uranus in Greek myth is the god of the sky. Some in the community think that Oda is hinting that this island itself is the god-like ancient weapon. But another godly reveal at this island is Shanks' mother, who was a resident of God Valley. Garling visited this island and raised up this red-haired baddie, or maybe he just forced her to do the deed. You know, who knows? These are celestials. They're maniacs. And then he left to get some milk, likely not realizing that she got pregnant. Next levels of deadbeat behavior here. Or rather, he was waiting to come grab his kids during the Celestial Hunger Games 2 years later. Both Shanks and Shamrock are shown to be taken care of by the island natives. It's possible that due to the history of God Valley, this girl, Garling Smash, had some special lineage. Now, Yusuf in the stream started yapping about how this girl is actually Rox's sister, and Rox is from God Valley. Garling Smash to get some mind games over Rox, but I think Dragon's gonna come to Egghead before Rox has a sister. I'm gonna be real, chat.
I think she's Rox's sister, and basically she was targeted by, she was hiding away, and then Garling purposely targeted her. He went right through the heart of the Gorosei and broke him. He bent down. He started, bro, he was on his knees. He became a little girl.
This is beginning to sit a little too much.
If you want to hear more about what Yusuf has been smoking, watch the Roxy Xebec and Blackbeard video Yusuf made a month ago. Either way, the paneling of Shanks and Shamrock is striking. Both born as twins, but their fates split during that fateful day, just like the split in God Valley. One child picked up by Roger, while the other taken back to become a celestial by his father Garling. However, there was likely no mercy for the mother, as she was a victim of the hunt 38 years ago. At least, she got to name the kids Shamrock and Shanks, which also shows that Roger, having known Shanks' name, he probably heard it from Garling or knew their mother herself in God Valley. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and get some gamer subs, guys. Helps us out a lot. Also, get the Nakama t-shirt. Also, there's a Deadbeat Dragon t-shirt I've been cooking up the design of, you know, so that might be coming up soon. Thank you so much for watching. Another One Piece video, probably Monday, about every god in One Piece. I'm gonna talk about my goat, Monkey That Beat Dragon. It's coming to Elbaf. I'll see you guys next week. There's no break next week. God Valley next week. Be prepared.